Coventry from Rotowire here. We're trying to stream this as usual to the Rotowire page on Twitter and on YouTube. We're also doing Instagram, so I got to keep an eye on the phone as well. So I might look down more than usual, and I'll see if I see questions on Instagram. I'm not really used to using that feed, but very excited about it. Let me see if I am live there. Yep. So anybody has questions, set them up. I'll try to get to all platforms here. Of course, Atlanta Falcons, them. The Bears, the Giants, the Raiders, 4 teams that I feel you can never, hey, Kevon, you can never count on those teams. When it seems you know something about them, you find out you totally don't. And here come the Falcons coming out and blowout win so far, halfway point. I do want to talk. I'm waiting for questions to come through here, and you can ask those questions, and I will definitely get those. But the one thing I want you to understand, I really, Cordell Patterson, 30 years old, like his 9th year in the league, and nobody learned how to use him. But realistically, they just get him downhill. He's faster than everybody. He's that fast, and he still is. And they're utilizing him. They're not making him run complex routes. He's not that guy, but they're using him. I don't know how so many coaches had him. Belichick had him, couldn't unlock him. But you see now that they just get him downhill. Use your speed. He's powerful too. And it's very cool to see it. All right, so questions here. Vinny Testaverde's here. Trevor Lawrence or Sam Darnold? Yeah, good situation to be in here. Darnold is playing well. Very hard to look past. Now, Trevor Lawrence, he's facing Tennessee. And look, Tennessee is just getting throttled through the air. And Derrick Henry running the ball doesn't necessarily shorten the games because he's so efficient on the runs and he's gaining so much yardage. It's one of those things that it works. So Lawrence could find himself in a shootout here. And I know Tennessee has a corner that's graded by PFF real well, but they're getting killed in the passing game every week. Chark is out. I understand that. Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault underneath. Dan Arnold's a weapon there. So I do like him. Now, Sam Darnold is facing the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are not a great defense, but they're going to get pressure on him. And so I think your floor play is Darnold because he's shown that he can get you 2 touchdowns pretty much every week. He's had some easier matchups. The Dallas matchup wasn't totally easy. So I do think that's a way you can go there. So now with Trevor Lawrence, I do think in the game against the Titans, there is upside because this game could really shoot out where I expect the Carolina-Philly game to be a little lower scoring. Darnold's your safe play. But if you really need somebody to maybe get a 3-touchdown game, I think Darnold's good for 2. Lawrence could be 1 or 3. So I think either volatile option is Lawrence, but I think Darnold's your safe play, and I'd probably go with him. Kevon, yeah, Marquise Brown or Brandon Cooks. So, look, I love Brandon Cooks, and I think he's a phenomenal receiver. He runs all the routes now. I do think, though, facing New England, they're going to bottle him up a bit. Last week was a really good floor game, actually. When Cooks, in a game they got shut out and they didn't move the ball, he had like 9 PPR points. And to me, that was amazing. So I think his floor is like really solid. Like that 9-7, that's a floor game for him. And he's going to get double-digit targets. So I do like him as a floor play. Now, Marquise Brown, he had those 3 drops. One of my defender got a fingertip on, but he should have had 4 big games so far. So it's really hard to go away from Marquise Brown right now because he's playing at a very high level. He operates in the middle of the field, which is where that Lamar Jackson's at his absolute best. So you know what? I'm going to say Marquise Brown has a good floor and a great ceiling, whereas Brandon Cooks has a good floor. But this week, I don't know the ceilings there. So probably I have to say Marquise Brown, as much as I love Brandon Cooks. Cooks is a much better football player, but Brown is playing very well right now with his quarterback. Hey, Scott, you got Eli Mitchell, Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins, Jacoby Myers, you need 2. Very hard to sit T. Higgins. In my opinion, he is an alpha-type receiver. He's back from the 2-week injury. I don't expect any ill effects or problems with that. So I do expect him to come in and pick up where he left off. And Jair Alexander is out for the Packers. So therefore, they should be able to pass at will. Zadarius Smith, the outside linebacker, is on the IR. So the pass rush for the Packers isn't so hot. So Burrow should have time to throw. So to me, Higgins is an auto start. The other one here is going to be a floor ceiling question. So Jacoby Myers, I know they're playing Houston, but they're down 4 linemen. So my guess is Mac Jones the only player is the center. All their 4 linemen are out, 2 with COVID, 2 injured. So Myers is going to be busy in the short passing game. He should get 7 to 10 targets. He is your floor play there. Now, for ceiling, it's got to be Courtland Sutton. I know he tweaked his ankle. Mike Kliss of Denver 9 said that he's expected to go. You need the upside. If you need 20-something points out of your receiver, then I think Courtland Sutton has the chance of doing that because Teddy Bridgewater's fine to play, and he's been connecting well with him. We've seen high target games, and I do think Denver is going to have to throw the ball a bit this week. So I do think that that's your upside play. But again, Myers is your floor play. I do like Eli Mitchell too, but coming off the injury from 2 weeks, not quite sure what to expect there. Hey, Randy, running back in the flex, non-PPR, Sermon, Madison, Javonte Williams, Antonio Brown, Waddle, and Kadarius Toney. Yeah, it's a mess there, right? But tough ones. I expect Eli Mitchell to be the lead back there. I think that what they've shown in San Francisco from week 1 is Eli Mitchell is well ahead of Sermon on the depth chart. So I'm not expecting Sermon to do a lot here. I think he gets 6 to 8 carries, maybe. Madison, that's a tough call because it's a Dalvin Cook. If Dalvin Cook is deactivated, then I think against Detroit, you have to start him. But if Cook is active, then Madison gets less in touches. He's a far less back. So you got to be careful there. Javonte, probably out on Javonte this week. Overall, he's getting about half the work, which is fine. Steelers are tough to run on, man. And so that's going to be a tough call for him there. Antonio Brown, now, the outside corners are very good for the Dolphins. So, and he does play a little bit in the slot, but Godwin really owns the slot. So a little bit apprehensive there. Jalen Waddle, look, all the cornerbacks down in Tampa Bay, and Waddle catches a lot of short passes. So Waddle's a pretty solid play for floor. Toney's tough to call because he had a productive game last week. Dallas is playing pretty well defensively. Daniel Jones is getting it done. Toney should get looks this week. So what I'll say this week, right now, so of your running back, I've actually got to say Madison is probably ahead of Javonte and Sermon after all that I said. And your flex, I think your floor play is Waddle. But if you want to take a risk for like a 1 or a 2, but where maybe I've made 15 points, Toney would have that upside because Golladay will get the most attention from probably Trev Diggs from Dallas. So that's the way I would look there. All right, see what we got next. Vinny, I'm doing that now. Thank you. Conan, Miles Sanders, Courtland Sutton, or Allen Robinson. One can't play. Miles Sanders has to sit. Kenny Gainwell is starting to take a little stranglehold in the backfield there. Sanders has more touches right now, but Gainwell's been consistently more productive as a runner and a receiver, and I think that's going to continue to move in that direction. And Philly has not committed to Miles Sanders in any way, shape, or form, so I do think that's a continued problem. So I'm definitely going to say, and I know Robinson has struggled. I get it, but I think you got to go with him because Sanders is problematic, and he's facing a Carolina defense that's pretty stout against the run. Now, Dallas bullied them, but of course, Philly is already having issues on their offensive line. Lane Johnson's out this week. So I'm going to go Sutton and Robinson there. All right. Jack Delhomme. I like that. Derek, you know what? I mean, wow, it's a huge number. And that's like predicated on almost a 2,000-yard season. I don't know how you go under it, though, because they're playing Jacksonville. I mean, he's going to get 25 carries, I would think. And A.J. Brown, he's off the injury list, but they don't have 2 receivers. Julio's out. I imagine they have to run the ball. I imagine they're playing with a bit of a lead. I actually like them -4 on the road this week. I got to say over, but that's a big number to hit. There are variables. We've seen these divisional opponents, and I think Henry had a game against them in the past where Jacksonville was overmatched defensively, and they just sold out on him, and I don't think Henry had a big game there. So there's downside there, but I would be more inclined to bet the over. The one I like this week is Nick Chubb. It was 86.5 yards yesterday. I bet that. And in that same game, Dan Arnold is like it's 29 or 24 yards. Dan Arnold is going to be a part of that offense. Even they acquired him like 3 days after they acquired him. He was involved for a couple catches for 29 yards. With Chark out, he's going to see targets. I love the over on Dan Arnold's yardage. All right. Wow, no other questions right now. Oh, because the game's on today. So it's going to be a slow Sunday. So we'll talk about some games here. put questions in as you have them on Instagram. I know we're live here, so if you have questions, I imagine I could see them if you post them. Let me see what else I could do here. Yeah, so I think they just put questions in. I should be able to see them. I'm not sure if that works or not. I'll have to ask my department about that because they just told me to stream Instagram this week. All right, so let's talk about a couple games here. Broncos, Steelers, over and under 39.5 on this game. Steelers are a 1-point favorite. This is a tough spot for the Broncos because they're going to see a lot of pressure. And the pressure gets me concerned because Teddy Bridgewater has played well this season. The offensive line for Denver is coached up very well. Mike Munchak used to be the Steelers' offensive line coach. So they're coached up very well. But the diminishing weapons, we continue to lose guys. KJ Hamler's been out. Albert O's the second tight end, and he plays. He's out. So, we keep losing guys. I do think Fant will be real busy, and I think Joe Hayden will spend a lot of time on Cortland Sutton, but that's a beatable matchup. But overall, I think this game is lower scoring. The over and under 39 is probably very solid. I think the big one is Pittsburgh may really have a hard time moving the ball against Fangio's defense. So the Pittsburgh underline is one to bet. I'm going to have to grab that after the show is over. All right, let's see what else we got here. Patriots 7.5. So here's the line I like to say. When a line looks too good to be true, it probably is. And I think Tevin Coleman just went racing down. It was a kick return. It looks like he went like about 75 yards. Wow, I'll take a look at that in a minute. Anyway, Patriots, that line looks too good to be true. The Patriots are without 4 starting offensive linemen. To me, I'm laying off this game most likely, 90%. If I'm taking a team, I'm taking the Texans. That line looks too good to be true. It looks too easy to cover. And I think the Patriots played their Super Bowl last week against the Bucs. And I know Belichick is the coach, but the players put a lot of that mental energy into that game. So I would say it's 65% probability the Texans cover that. But again, there's a 35% chance I think the Patriots do. It's a great question here. Other questions? Don't see anything else right now. Let's see what we got next here. Let's go to some other games. Saints in Washington. So the word is Antonio Gibson's expected to play. He's been playing with a stress fracture in his shin. So apparently it's a pain management thing and he's able to play. So as of right now, and at 10, my time, 10:30, if you're East, it's 11:30. Whenever somebody sees inactives, if there's any prominent ones, please post them because I know we're going to have plenty of questions about Dalvin Cook and a number of other players. All right, Randy, what do you got here? You need to drop someone in a non-PPR for a kicker. Boo, kickers. Tyson, Waddle, or Tony. So ultimately, and Michael Carter's getting it done a little bit. He's looking a little bit better this week, although he's sharing a lot of touches. So I got to say Tyson goes because it's clear at this point, John Harbaugh is not concerned about how you run the ball. He's concerned about all of the professional details. We talked about this in past weeks. Blitz pickup, pass protection, blocking, different things. And I know running backs aren't the biggest blockers, but there are times on short pass routes where they're required, again, to chip block, things like that. And I think the problem is Coach Harbaugh does not trust him to do those things, which is why he was inactive last week. So as much as I think Tyson could be something, there's a point later, they get injuries, he could be something. But if you got to drop somebody now, probably him. If they activate Bateman for Monday Night Football, you have to make another drop. Well, Tony and Bateman, ultimately, Sterling Shepard will be back, and Darius Slayton will be back. Probably not long. So my guess is you probably drop Tony because I think those other receivers have established themselves, especially Sterling Shepard. And Galladay certainly is their alpha. So I think Bateman has the better chance, even though it's a low-volume passing attack, and I don't expect a lot out of it. But I think that's the way to look. All right, let's see what we got here. Davis Mills over or under 200. Oh, it's got to be an under. Has to be an under because, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Bill Belichick, when they faced those rookie quarterbacks, I think it was Zach Wilson. I'm trying to think if that was a game. And I was like, man, he's not going to even know what's open because he ain't be able to see it. It's going to be schemed up to confuse him. And Davis Mills is over his head in this game. And last week, would it even have 80 yards passing last week? I think half of that went to Cooks, if not more. So it's got to be under 200. I have to say under. I don't even know 80% probability on that one. And I hate to say that high, but I just don't see it. Jets got down to the 2-yard line. Ty Johnson in the game. Hopefully Michael Carter gets in. I'd like to see him get another touchdown this week. All right, Conan, Jared Cook or Dallas Goedert. Yeah, so that's a tough one. Chargers are playing the Browns. Browns are pretty good at safety. And they do have the athletic personnel to hang with Jared Cook, and they don't. Clearly, you're not selling out top Cook because they got two great receivers. But I think personnel-wise, they're set up very well there. Whereas Dallas Goedert, not seen as many targets as we'd like, but Dallas Goedert is somebody that they're definitely using the middle of the field a lot with Jalen Hurts, and Goedert is more likely to see more targets and as many, if not more, high leverage targets. So I say this is 60% Goedert, 40% Cook. They both have similar upside. Goedert has a higher floor, which is why I like him here. All right, what we got next? We got Gary, Manny Sanders, Cole Beasley, Zach Martin. Oh, that's a lot of Bills. Antonio Brown, Darnell Mooney, Tim Patrick. You can only play 3 full PPR. Well, we realize that the likelihood of that Kansas City and Buffalo touchdown Ty Johnson shooting out is very, very probable here. So what we have to look at here is we got to say Sanders and Beasley, they both could see nearly double-digit targets. Beasley's been all or nothing, but this is the type of game the Chiefs are pretty good against outside receivers. The middle of the field, they are super vulnerable. They give that up by defensive design, and Sanders and Beasley both run a lot in the middle of the field. So I think you got to go with them probability-wise. And then Antonio Brown, I'm going to say because of the outside corners of Miami, where Brown mostly plays on the outside, it's not the best matchup, but I can see Brady just going away from it. There's not why waste his time. I think the middle of the field dominates there. I don't really want to play 3 Bills here. Zach Moss has been very involved. He could have had another touchdown last week, but Josh Allen airmailed him on a screen pass. Not so good. Mooney, not a bad matchup for Mooney. The Raiders are down 2 corners, and the top corner will likely shift to Robinson. I don't know if they travel him or not, but regardless, the Bears are going to move personnel around anyway. And I think that the Bears are going to use extra protection like they did last week because Bill Lazor's calling the plays out of Matt Nagy. So I think Mooney is your third play. Tim Patrick's always a great play, but playing Pittsburgh, there's going to be some pressure this week. And I don't know if those downfield passes that Patrick thrives are going to be there. So, yeah, Manny Sanders, Beasley, and Mooney for those reasons. And Randy, half PPR, receiver flex. Love Ruggs this week. Bears don't have – Jalen Johnson's our best corner, but he don't have deep speed. And the other corners are not good at all. And Akeem Hicks is out for the Bears left defensive end. That hurts their pressure packages. So my concern for them is that Ruggs is getting 7 targets a game, and they're throwing downfield him. I think it's a great week for Ruggs. As I mentioned a moment ago, I think Brady could look away from Antonio Brown more than usual because the outside corners are very good for the Dolphins. And then A-Rob, we give him a go this week, I think. And I know he's been horrible. I totally get it. But I don't think the Raiders are not great at corner, but they're down 2 corners. And I still think that they're going to get the passing game going. With David Montgomery out, I think the Bears are going to have to trust Justin Fields. And again, Bill Lazor calling the plays is very important here. So I think that works out to his favor very well. All right, no more questions right now. All right, we'll start talking about another game. No more questions come in. All right, let's see what we got here. Packers, Bengals. So Jair Alexander, we know, is out. He's the best corner by a million miles for the Packers, and their pass defense takes a massive hit when he is out. So we're very concerned about that. And the Bengals are the team to take advantage of that. And the Packers also without outside linebacker Zadarius Smith. He's on the injured reserve, and that's a big part of their pressure packages. So realistically, the Bengals should pass more than usual here today. And I believe that they have great success in their home field. T. Higgins is back. And I think they're going to – and Joe Mixon, we don't know what his status is, but we're not expecting much from him. So I think we're going to get this going where that's going to work out very well. They're going to move the ball very well through the air. Now, the Packers, I know the Bengals are a little better than we think defensively, but I think obviously Devontae Adams, there's no matchup problem for him here. So I think the Packers are able to run with them a bit. The over and under is high. It's 51.5. And the Packers like to keep things a little bit slower and more condensed. And even the Bengals to a degree. So I'm not liking the over under, but I like the Bengals plus the points on their home field. To me, I think that's a solid play because I really think they're going to have very little problem moving the football. All right, other questions here. This is funny. You get all these football names. Achilles Smith changed it every question. Chase Claypool or Jalen. Well, it's a tough call. See, here's what I need everybody to know. Chase Claypool had a decent week last week. 15 targets. He couldn't hit 100 yards, but he took on the Deontay Johnson role because Deontay Johnson was out. Chase Claypool now goes back to the Chase Claypool role because Deontay Johnson is back. So Chase Claypool goes back to a boomer bust play. The problem is, and I've been saying this is the preseason, Ben Roethlisberger can no longer throw the ball downfield. And who is he playing this week? Vic Fangio's defense. Great corners, great pressure schemes, sightline problems, even for a veteran like Roethlisberger. I just don't, to me, Chase Claypool is a sketchy wide receiver 3. Not sketchy, fair wide receiver 3 every week until he gets a real quarterback. And yeah, I just said that. Until he gets a real, Ben can't play anymore. So now in that case, we got Jalen Waddle. And the problem here becomes, how much upside is there? Because we have Jacoby Brissett, a quarterback. But Jalen Waddle is going to see targets. They're going to be short. But I'm assuming you're half or full PPR. And to me, that makes the difference. He has a higher floor than Claypool. I don't think Claypool even has a high ceiling right now. So I think your floor play is Waddle, and I think that's why you have to go with him. Come on. Let's see what you got. Miles. Yeah, if Kenny Gainwell doesn't get there first, right? Man, it's tough for Miles Sanders right now. I believe he's a very good player, but it's not going that way in the minds of the Philadelphia coaching staff. Kenny Gainwell's getting more and more work. Kenny Gainwell is more productive than Miles Sanders. And to me, the writing on the wall is that this is going to flip. And what we're going to see, watching Hayden Hurst leapfrog and then get blown up, fumbled again, but it went out of bounds. Man, Hayden Hurst is having a bad game here. 2 fumbles. Anyway, so yeah, I very low probability of Miles Sanders scoring. Yes, he's very explosive. He always can take a run and go to the house with it. It's in the realm. But I only put that like a 15% chance of him scoring here because, again, Kenny Gainwell is far too involved for Miles Sanders right now. I don't know how much trade value is out there for Miles Sanders if you have him on a team, but gauge the market on that too. All right, John. You need one of these running backs, non-PPR. Trey Sermon, James Conner, Antonio Gibson, leaning Conner. Conner's not a bad play because he hasn't been good yards per carry. He's been very limited, which has been frustrating because they do face a lot of lighter boxes. But Edmonds has a shoulder injury. So my guess is Edmonds loses those 10 carries a game he gets. My guess, they're going to use him as a receiver on passing downs because they can't risk his shoulders. It could be a long-term problem. So I think Conner has the stable workload. Now, Gibson, Gibson's one of my favorite players. And I think everybody knows that who's listening to me. And, he's not getting enough touches. That's the problem. He's still being productive. Now, Gibson has a great floor because he is still getting like almost 5 yards a carry. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know 1 week was 6, the other week was 5. He's very productive. He's not getting the targets we like. Oh, great. Oh, Olamide Zaccheaus almost had a catch. He got blown up. All right. So Antonio Gibson is a upside play. James Conner, he can always get in the end zone. We've seen it 4 times in the last 2 weeks. Conner is the safe play because I think he gets 15, 18 touches here. And Gibson isn't always getting that. But even with the shin, he's been dealing with that for weeks. So to me, in my lineup, I believe in Antonio Gibson. I think the Saints up the middle on defense, they can be vulnerable. Onyemata still on the suspension list. So I do think Gibson to me is the play where I want some upside and a good floor. But if you just want a real safe, solid floor and hoping for a touchdown, then Conner's your play. But betting on touchdowns is always tough. That's what makes it. But go with your gut. If you're leaning Conner, stay with it because I can't give you a strong enough reason to fade him. Nurse Mindy. PPR flex, Galladay, Beasley, Latavius Murray, and then at tight end, Cook or Ertz. So, Kenny Galladay is coming on, and Daniel Jones, he is significantly improved in his 3rd year. And I'm seeing he's always thrown downfield, but he's a better quarterback. The fantasy numbers haven't been there, but he's coming along. And Kenny Galladay is going to have his opportunity today against Dallas. And I don't think it's going to be Trev Diggs on him all day long. I think he's going to see him at times, but Galladay still is an elite receiver. Now, but here's the problem. Cole Beasley's your next one. He either sees like 4 targets or he sees double digits. But to me, this is that double-digit target game. The Chiefs give up a lot of stuff in the middle of the field. Very open. That's what they give. It's going to likely be a shootout. So Galladay is a strong play. but I believe Beasley has a super high floor in this game with a big ceiling. So I lean Beasley, and I'm going to keep Latavius Murray out because he is just dependent on a touchdown. I know he got 18 carries, didn't do. I don't think he had like 3 yards. He didn't have 4 for sure. He was, his yardage not very good. So I'm going to say Beasley 60%, Golladay 40%. But I like Beasley. Are your tight end? So Cook is a little boom or bust because they have games where they match up on him. But I think that the Cleveland safeties are going to be very well matched up with him. So I like Ertz. Ertz seen 15 targets over the last 2 games. So I totally like Zach Ertz. His floor has become good. I think last year he was hurt, and I think it was underreported because he wasn't separating. Now he's back to being Zach Ertz again, and he is getting those targets. At 15 is huge. So he has a bigger floor than Cook, and he has similar upside. So we're going to say Beasley and Ertz. Good luck with that. I hope it pans out. And Gary, you're next. Josh Jacobs or Mooney. The Bears are pretty good against the run. Josh Jacobs is barely 3 yards a carry. I put up the numbers on Sirius yesterday. Now, he had those 2 touchdowns in the opener. That was very nice. And he's like less than 4 yards of reception, like 6 catches for 23 yards. Josh Jacobs, they're both guards are on injured reserve. They have a downgraded line from last year. The Bears are going to probably blow up their running game. Now, the Raiders can get it done through the air. I just don't see it. Now, can Jacobs get a touchdown? Yes. Can he get 2 touchdowns? Possibly. But betting on touchdowns is tough. Mooney, this is a good matchup for Mooney. The Bears, Bill Lazor calling plays last week. Instead of Nagy 5-man protections, they were using 6 and 7-man protections. They were giving the quarterback, Justin Fields, a chance to throw the ball downfield. He hooked up well with Mooney despite the easy opponent. I am on Mooney in this one because I believe Mooney has a higher floor than Jacobs, and he has a similar upside to Jacobs. Zach Wilson back to pass, a little screen to Michael Carter. Oh, this is nice. Michael Carter about 15 yards. He's starting to come on a little bit. He's running between the tackles pretty well, too. All right, so now, Waller's your tight end. Yep, yeah, no complaints there. No need to add anything. Now it's Brock Osweiler. I like this. Hopkins or Godwin. 49ers really don't have much at corner right now. They're decimated their corner, and they have nobody to match but Hopkins. Hopkins is not getting targets, though. I mean, I think it's a max of 8 in the game this year. That's problematic, and he's not a downfield guy. Yeah, he's really – this year he's a possession guy. They have so many varied options in that passing game. They don't have to throw Hopkins 14 passes. Can they do that this week? Sure. Matchup is good. But here's the Chris Godwin deal. Miami has outstanding outside cornerbacks. They're weak in the middle. To me, game planning, you go in, this is a Chris Godwin week because that's where you attack Miami. And Chris Godwin is an elite player. You use the elite player against the deficiency of the defense. So to me, Godwin has the better matchup. Targets, they should be similar. Godwin's had 5 or 7 in the last 3 games, which is very low. But I think there's a week where we see 10 targets out of Godwin. And I think a downfield long pass, Corey Davis missed in the end zone. He was behind the defenders. Ugh. All right. Conan, Beasley over. Oh, that's tough. You're right. Here we go. We got the situational player in a great spot who can produce. Sutton, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Teddy from the Pittsburgh defense. I don't know the downfield passes are going to be there. I think they're going to have to live on Noah Fant today underneath. Allen Robinson, he hasn't done anything yet. And the Raiders are down 2 corners. So I think Robinson could be fine. And again, I do like the way that Bill Lazor's calling the plays and he's getting protections for his quarterback. So I like that. So ultimately, Beasley's hard to sit. But are you going to kick yourself if Allen Robinson goes off? That's the question. So in a vacuum, I think Beasley has a really high floor this week, and Robinson's showing his floor is very low. But I really struggle to sit Allen Robinson against the Raiders, who have played over their heads a little bit. The injuries are going to catch up to them this week. The 2 corners being out is big. Use your gut there, but I would really struggle to sit Allen Robinson here. Beasley, as much as I like his matchup, they don't have to go to him. Dawson Knox is a thing in the middle of the field too. So that maybe puts a little bit of shade on that. I'm going to go Robinson, and I know he's been terrible so far. All right. Randy, kind of a stash of Jared Patterson. Yes, Jared Patterson, he's, athletically, he looks like he's going to be a good NFL running back. And we see it time and again. All these guys need is an opportunity, and they come in and they play well. So I think he's a good stash. And, Gibson aggravates this thing, a stint on IR. And I don't know what the stress fracture is. That's something that has to be, if you're going to put him down or you're shutting him down long term. I don't think it heals in 3 weeks. That one I don't know. Don't know about the level of severity. The fact he's played on it tells me something that is probably not one of those things that's going to get worse. And if he can play on it, he's played well. But again, I would stash him today if you could drop any worth it, and then see how Gibson gets through the game. If Gibson gets through the game well, then he's probably going to be in there unless a different injury comes up. All right. Conan, full PPR. Again, my answer is still the same. It doesn't change on that. I kind of factored that in. I kind of expected it was full PPR. Tampa Bay Bucks -10. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Logically, yes. Logically, they should steamroll them. Miami has not played as well as we thought they would this year. That's not been good. We thought Miami would be way better. Their defense has been more prone to giving up yardage and touchdowns. Offensively, they're very limited, but the Bucks don't have corners. Richard Sherman's, working his way into football shape, and he's a zone corner. So it's not like that's the end of the world. He's not going to shut people down anymore. And if it's 10 even, 10.5, 10's better than 10.5. I'll definitely say that. I feel nervous about this game. That line is one of them. It looks too good to be true. Excuse me. I mean, because the game's in Miami, so it's a little bit less than it'd be if it were in Tampa. I'm laying off that game personally. I'm just a little bit nervous about that. Laura and Jim Cooperman, a questionable Courtland Sutton or Quintez Cephas. I got to say Courtland Sutton here. The problem in Detroit is we don't know who's going to see the targets. Khalif Raymond's involved. Cephas is involved. Dalvin Cook inactive. Get him out of your lineups. Madison against the Detroit Lions. He right now, top 10 fantasy back. I mean, Detroit's not stopping anybody. And we know they'll run. They certainly will. Now, I think Kirk Cousins is in for a bigger game. I think they'll throw a little more than they might otherwise. So that's a big deal there. But I do think Kirk Cousins is a good DFS play this week. He's 6,500 on DraftKings. It's a little higher salary than we like, but that could be one of those 4 touchdown games here. Wow. But anyway, I'm sorry, Laura and Jim. I got to say Courtland Sutton. His role is more established. I mentioned earlier, I do worry Pittsburgh's going to have some pressure on Teddy, but Courtland Sutton can run all the routes. So I think he doesn't get the deep plays in this game, but I think he could get 7 or 8 solid intermediate passes and end up really well. Mike Kliss from Denver 9 said that Sutton's ankle, he rolled it, he's fine, he's expected to play. So sounds like a mild low ankle. So based on Mike Kliss, who's a very, very valuable reporter, very good at what he does, I'm going to say Courtland Sutton because Cephas it's way too volatile. And again, Hopkins isn't supposed to play. Anybody who sees these inactives, please post them for me because during the stream, I'm unable to let you know if there's any vital players that are out here. So, and next question, Cole Kmet over 27.5. I think he's only done that once this year. If that. He may have had a 42-yarder in there. He may have. But you know what? I don't see it because I think the Bears go into this game. They need to protect Justin Fields. Kmet is part of that deal. I think they're more concerned with the 6 and 7 man protections than the 5-man protections. And I think they're better off. Laser understands this. Using your running back as a weapon, Damian Williams in this game, using Robinson and Mooney. I don't think he's prioritizing the tight end. I would not lean on the over there. Could he get a ball down the seam and rumble with it? For sure. I think the probability of that is low. All right. Randy, J.J. Taylor, and he'll probably be inactive for a while. Just like Stevenson. Taylor put the ball on the carpet last week. Right away, he's screwed. Stevenson put the ball on the carpet. Was it week 1? He's screwed. Hasn't been back since. I love Ramondre Stevenson. I thought he was a perfect system fit for Belichick. I figured that's why they drafted him. But you know how it is with Bill. You've got to get his trust. And if he doesn't think he can hang on to the football, he punishes you harshly unless you're a veteran, and then you get a little bit of slack sometimes. So if Stevenson active? I imagine he is, Randy. I imagine he is. Well, this would be a week to play him. They're playing Houston. Now they're down 4 linemen. So who would you play him over? Not many people, though. And Damian Harris is still going to get the lion's share. Now, and I don't even know. See, that line is 7.5. If that line was 14, we're looking at a potential blowout. Stevenson might get in. But if this game is closer out, I don't think Bill, now that I'm rethinking this, I don't think Bill put Stevenson in a game that's close. I thought more Stevenson's role would be the finisher, like he used to use leg blunt for back in the day. So, in general, I do like Stevenson. If they use him, he's got a vast skill set. He can catch the ball. He's a powerful runner. Love him. I just don't think Belichick's going to use him. Cook was your RB1. Yeah, I get that. Jacobs or Moss. You know what? I like Moss. Moss has like 4 touchdowns this year. He could have had another one last week. Josh Allen airmailed him on the screen. I like the fact that Josh Allen only has 1 touchdown rush this season. And we see that Moss is getting that red zone work. So maybe they're trying to preserve Josh Allen at the expense of Moss, which we like. And Kansas City, they're not looking to stop the run. They just want to keep teams, from the big play. So I love Moss this week. I don't like Jacobs. Jacobs is like 3 yards a carry, he's less than 4 yards of reception. He has the 2 touchdowns in the opening game. He can always score a touchdown. And Moss is playing 56% of the snaps 2 weeks in a row. So I definitely like Zach Mosser. That I was talking about, Johnny, I was talking about Damian Harris on the show with Mario yesterday on Sirius. They're down 4 offensive linemen. That 70 yards, down 4 offensive linemen. Damian Harris is good, but how many tackles is he breaking? And his snap share isn't always like super high. If Stevens is in, they're probably going to split some carries. Now, can Harris break a run? Yes. The Texans may be terrible, but they've got a lot of like middling NFL players on their defense. Together, collectively as a unit, they're not bad. They're not terrible. So that's something to understand. I don't like the over here. Don't like the over. I don't necessarily love the under either, but I don't like the over. Justin Fields, again, last week, easy matchup with the Lions. What do we think about Fields? Bad matchup 2 weeks ago, 5-man protections. He was terrible. Last week, 6 and 7-man protections, bad defense. He looked very good. They didn't have to score many points because they were playing the Lions. I think he's worth the roster spot. Bill Lazor, he's going to use his players well. And ultimately, if Justin Fields gets rolling out and running, he definitely can move the ball on the ground. This is the last chance if he's going to be something to get him. Because if he has that game on the ground, Falcons fumble the ball. Look at that. Falcons grabbing, defeat from the jaws of victory. They're up 20-9 now, and Jets are in decent shape with the ball. All right. So anyway, there we go. I think he is worth a roster spot because I think there is real upside there. His arm is for real. We saw that last week. It's exactly what they drafted him in terms of arm talent. Len, good to see you, man. Glad you're here. Dalvin Cook is out. Yeah, it's awful. And again, if anybody sees any other prominent inactives, please post them. I cannot check those during the stream. It's just answering your questions. You need one half PPR: Melly, Gordon, Robbie Anderson, Hunter Renfrow, Kadarius Toney. How do you go away from Hunter Renfrow, right? Every week he's getting like 7 targets, and he's productive with them. He's used in the red zone. He is a critical component, and he's highly successful. Defenses can never focus on him. Hunter Renfrow, Robbie Anderson, I don't trust him. The team realized late last season that DJ Moore's a superstar and Robbie Anderson is a decent stretch Z. And they didn't even use him as a stretch Z, and they still aren't using him in his capacity. So that's my problem. They don't know how to use Robbie Anderson, and so his floor is horrible. Toney, it's interesting. He definitely produced last week. They're playing Dallas this week. Dallas is pretty good on defense. They're better than we expected. But I think the volatility is something we're not ready for. Melvin Gordon, I don't like the Pittsburgh matchup, and he splits half the work with Javonte. To me, Hunter Renfrow is the safest of those players, and I don't know that his ceiling is any less than the other ones because he can score in any given week. So if you really feel risky, you're taking the flyer on Toney would be there. But that, to me, that's a fair amount of risk. Because the team, I don't believe they feel he can run the full route tree. So I think they really are using him in certain ways. So Hunter Renfrow, to me, would be the choice. Good luck with that, Len. Johnny, thank you for getting these Devontae Parker inactive. We know Will Fuller's out. I definitely think that's a significant upgrade for Mike Gesicki again, who we know Jacoby Brissett loves in the middle of the field. It's also Jalen Waddle. There's going to be a lot of short passing here. Maybe Waddle gets a little more downfield than usual here, but I think those two are going to be very heavily involved in this game. So against Tampa Bay, who really is struggling in the secondary with their injuries. So, but that's a big injury for them. And now, I mean, not that I thought he might be, but I'd be more likely. I had a question earlier about the Bucs minus the points. I'd be more inclined to go that way because you can't run on the Bucs, but now you got to throw and you're missing your best receiver, and Fuller's out as well. So, as soon as it's over, I might go on to DraftKings and make that bet. Joe Mixon is active. What we heard yesterday was that he would be playing in some capacity. Beautiful. Just what we wanted to hear. So I think that the Bengals come out throwing in this game because that's what they can do right now. Michael Carter on a screen. Yeah, he got swallowed. Hey, battled after the first contact, which we like to see that. So, yeah, Joe Mixon. Look, I think you count on him for about 50 yards. You hope for more, but I think you're kind of planning on about 50 yards. When they're saying he's going to play in some capacity, we can't trust Zach Taylor. Last year, he had Mixon questionable for weeks, and he didn't play all the rest of the season with a foot injury, right? So I think we're concerned about that. Oh, the Bengals money line's a good play. It's a good play. Defensively, I do worry Aaron Rodgers can get it done. Rodgers has the only game he's had more than 2 touchdowns is when they another screen to Carter. Yeah. Oh no, Crowder. I'm sorry. Anyway, I like the money line. I think the money line's a solid play, but I do like catching points at home. I do catching 3 at home is good because at least I can get the push if the Packers eke it out. If it's close game, the Packers get the ball last, are probably going to win. So I do, though, even though it's a very small number of points, to me that means something in this environment. So the money line's a cool play, but I think I prefer taking the points. But it's a very, very reasonable play. Any other questions here? Might be a slow day today. I know a lot of people are watching in. I have way lower viewers than usual. I think it's definitely because of that. But if we don't have more questions, I'll give you guys another minute or so, and guys and gals, and I'll take them. Otherwise, I think we'll cut it a little bit short today because we can watch the rest of this game. All right. Good luck in all your games, everybody. Hope all goes well, and we will talk soon.